Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. And congrats again to Shelley and the Walrus for this amazing 150 Walrus Talks tour. I've been thinking a lot about water lately, and that's largely because tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I'm about to set sail on a 220-foot Canadian-flagged, Canadian-built icebreaker from Toronto. You might have seen a big red ship in Toronto Harbor this week, all the way around our country, through the Northwest Passage, or zip around Alaska, down the west coast to Victoria, BC, a 150-day journey, 23,000 kilometers from coast to coast to coast around our country, Canada. It's called Canada C3, coast to coast to coast. It's also becoming known, the C3 is crazy, crazy, crazy. But it's been a remarkable journey just to get to the starting line tomorrow night. Of course, it started as this journey of celebration for Canada's 150th, but we soon learned not everybody wanted to celebrate the last 150 years. Senator Murray Sinclair said to me, "You know, Geoff, this should be a journey of reconciliation." And it has become that in many, many ways. It's also become a journey of science and education, and one that I hope will connect Canadians from coast to coast to coast and look at our past, where we've been, where we are today, but also where are we going in not just the next 150 years, but the next 5 to 10 to 50 years. We're proud to be a signature initiative for Canada 150 and to have the Walrus magazine as a key partner on the journey. It's kind of like a Walrus Talks on water, and when I look at my fellow speakers today, each leg of the expedition will have a diversity, a cross-section of Canadians, from Indigenous leaders like Tom, activists, musicians, artists, writers, athletes, and many more, youth and elders. Our relationship to our country is so closely connected to our relationship with water, our waterways, our watersheds, our coastlines, and undoubtedly this relationship in the months and the years ahead will impact our desire for a better country and a better planet. We all have our own relationship with water and our understanding of what that is and what it means. This morning I asked my 6-year-old daughter, Nellie, what water meant to her. She said, "Well, it's the water cycle, Dad. It goes around, comes up from the ground into the flower, then the sun slurps it up into the clouds, and it rains or snows, and it comes back to earth. We couldn't live without it. We drink it. We have baths, do laundry, water plants. Our tears are made of water, Dad. We have fun in it. We swim, we jump in puddles, we go canoeing. There's so many things, Dad. It would take me an hour to name them all." It was a proud dad moment. But water does connect us all. It connects this country. It connects our planet. Why did we call it planet Earth? It should be called planet water. We are a country, a water nation of rivers, lakes, and oceans. We have the largest coastline and perhaps the most beautiful and diverse of any country on earth. We are the lucky ones. Water shapes our identity as a country, as Canadians, and how we treat it going forward, and our relationship to it will undoubtedly shape the future of Canada. Only 1% of Canada's oceans are protected. We're headed to 10% by 2020, but we can't stop there. We need more marine protected areas, more national marine conservation areas. This emerging concept of IPAs, Indigenous protected areas, could be a real game changer and holds great promise. Having boiled water advisories in 1/3 of Indigenous communities in our country is clearly completely unacceptable and shameful. There's a lot of work to do. Clean air and clean water must be a priority. And did you know Canada is as high as it is wide, from north to south to east to west? The largest coastline that connects our country is the Arctic, and it also shapes who we are. Ad mare usque ad mare is missing a mare. We need to change our national motto. And I've been really fortunate. I've led over 100 expeditions to both the Arctic and the Antarctic, and I've seen the power of our ocean, our Arctic, and our waterways as great classrooms, as homelands, as laboratories, as frontiers, and as wildernesses. And I've been fortunate to be taking youth for the last 20 years to both these poles, to the Arctic in particular, and seeing how it shapes their future, their perspectives, and their identity as a Canadian. I want to conclude tonight with two short stories They both involve the canoe. Our icebreaker is kind of like a big canoe full of Canadians, but yesterday, some guys from Northern Ontario, 3 Indigenous Canadians, delivered a birch bark canoe to me to carry on our journey around the country. And as we were lifting this canoe, this beautiful canoe, onto the ship, he said, "You know, Geoff, you know what reconciliation is to me? It's a canoe. And Canada, we're all in the same canoe together, but we need to be paddling together in the same direction. And that canoe, like our countries, and like this one, it's got a few holes in it and needs a few patches." And it was the best, I guess, analogy I've heard for this journey of healing that our country is on. And we shared a hug. I just met this guy, and it was a beautiful moment. His name was Mike from the Canadian Canoe Museum. And some of you, I brought a prop as well. Some of you might recognize this little guy. This is Paddle to the Sea. And if you're around my age, you might remember an amazing movie about a little Indigenous boy who carves this canoe, and he sets it free north of his hometown in Nipigon, goes into Lake Superior, through the Great Lakes, over Niagara Falls, and it's found by a lighthouse keeper off the coast of Cape Breton. It taught me what a watershed was without even knowing it. It instilled an environmental ethic. I've shared this recently with anybody I can, because the Mason family are giving it to us to take from sea to sea to sea. I put it out in Lake Ontario 2 nights ago and almost lost it. I almost had a heart attack. It was stuck under the Zodiac. But one guy, the commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard, said he's the commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard because of that movie. But one of the most moving was I was passing it around the board meeting of the Ottawa Riverkeeper, and one guy touched it and he started to cry. And after the meeting, he came up to me and said, "I want you to know why I was crying. My mom and dad came to Canada from China. We had the Chinese food restaurant. I'm first generation. And they wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer. And when I was 8 years old, I saw Paddle to the Sea, and I came home and I said, 'Mom, Dad, I want to be a biologist.'" And now he's the head of the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. On the back of it, it says, "I am Paddle to the Sea. Please put me back in the water." And there's so many more. I'll carry this tonight if anybody would like to touch Paddle. We have an inherited responsibility to be water stewards and water keepers. We're so blessed. And the Indigenous peoples of our country see water as something that is alive, and that we're put here on Turtle Island as keepers of the land and the animals and the water. We need to embrace this belief system. We need to learn from that traditional knowledge in order to understand and protect the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, to make a better Canada. This is just one of the things we'll be doing on our journey to come in the next 150 days. And I'd like to invite you all to share in that journey starting tomorrow. It'll be shared through every platform imaginable. Come to see us tomorrow night at our launch event as we set sail at sunset down in Toronto Harbor. I'd love to see you there. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech. Thank you.